I am very addicted to honey blocks. I really am trying to make videos that aren't honey block related, I promise you. I've been trying my best to come up with them, but whatever happens, my mind just goes towards honey block related contraptions. I love them. I think they're the best. I'm going to keep building with them. But with that being said, there is still a slight bug in the snapshots, which means that walking honey block structures, which is something that I really want to work on, still aren't quite possible. You see this piston right here, obviously when it gets pushed in front of that redstone block, it should power, but as you can see, it doesn't. For some reason, I don't know what it is, in this version of Minecraft right now, it doesn't update, and it doesn't extend. I imagine that will be fixed, and soon, walking honey block machines will be coming. They'll be huge, they'll be ridiculous. But if we just ignore the walking bit for the time being and focus on creating large movable structures, I think that could be really interesting because these new honey blocks open up all sorts of possibilities. The first thing that we need to work on is large-scale movable piston plates, or at least that's what I'm calling them. Now what this is just a large wall of pistons. In fact, a wall of pistons is probably a better name for it. It's a large wall of pistons that we're going to use to actually move our structure, and this needs to be modular, it needs to be repeatable, they need to not stick to one another, and it kind of needs to be self-moving as well. There's a lot that needs to go into these things. And this is all I've got so far. So if we move this, you can see that those pistons actually extend, meaning that anything in front of it, we could have 12 blocks in front of each one of these pistons, and when everything gets moved forwards, it will also get moved forwards. Which may not look like much, but if we start adding a few extra bits and pieces, it could actually turn into something that functions. The only thing that I'm slightly worried about is when this thing moves, it might prematurely power this observer, causing a bit of an issue. But I'm going to add a few more tiles in place, and then we'll give this thing a full tester. Backups have been made, and now it's time to actually give it a try. Ready? It's made a mess. It's totally broken. Yeah, everything's gone out of sync. Why exactly? Was it really just because this went too early? Oh no, that stuck to that. Of course that is stuck to that. Oh, time to go back to the drawing board then. Very seriously. And after about an hour of various different types of head scratching, I've managed to come up with this fairly interesting looking structure, which actually seems to work really nicely. So here we have the wall of pistons, and then the wall of pistons is actually being pushed by this system here, which is essentially like a stackable piston pusher. There's lots of words in here that aren't making a lot of sense even to me, so I do feel sorry for those of you who are watching. But as you can see, it does actually work. So everything is moving. Our wall of pistons actually push as they get pushed, which is perfect. And this means that we should be able to build, well, infinitely tall structures and also infinitely wide structures, and they can be up to 12 blocks deep. So, in my opinion, I would consider this to be an absolutely enormous success already. We have actually come up with something pretty smart here. So now it is time to just expand it. Expand it to some ridiculous level. I don't know how big it's going to be just yet, but I want to get a bit silly. How's this looking height-wise? I would say, yeah, I don't think I want to go too much taller than that. I wonder actually, A, how long it takes, and B, if it actually works. It does actually take quite some time, so the flying machine can't be too quick. But the good news is that it does actually all work. Okay, now we go across. How big do we want it to be across? Can you remember when every single time you used to place an observer, it would actually power? I've just remembered that used to be a thing, and how ridiculous that used to be. It must have made building certain flying machines impossible. I don't know how we used to deal with that. Well, if you want it to be big, we definitely need to be using the clone command, because building each one of these layers is not exactly a quick process. Now let's see if this works, shall we? I mean, it almost worked. I built it in the wrong place and one thing fired. How strange is that? But after batching that up and actually working out where I need to paste these things, this is going to be an absolute lifesaver. I mean, look, that is so quick. Right, let's go huge. Boom. I mean, that's huge, isn't it? As far as flying machines are concerned, pretty huge. The only thing is we now need to push all of these things. I'm not 100% certain how we're actually going to do this. Didn't think this far ahead. Would something like this work if we were to place redstone blocks along the bottom here? Or is that bugged out? No, it isn't. Okay, so that would function. The reason I'm confused here is because that's the sort of game mechanic that stopped my leg from working earlier on in the video. Regardless, I'm not complaining because it makes my life significantly easier as I can then group a lot of these modules in together. So we've got a bank of 6 there, a bank of 6 there, a bank of 6 there, and a bank of 6 there, which means that we just need to push those and then push those and then everything works. Then I realised we still have room in the piston push limit for these bottom modules to have some pistons down at the bottom here, which means not only can we push a structure along, but also we can have a floor underneath it made out of those expandable bridges that I did in the previous redstone video. Unfortunately, it definitely wasn't that simple. It really wasn't that simple, but I think I've managed to work it out, and I think we can all agree that this thing looks nuts now. I mean, that looks totally bonkers, doesn't it? I hope it works. I haven't actually tested it for a while. If we just hit this button right here, this should move the entire thing. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness, that is so laggy. But that all seemed like it actually functioned. Yeah, that's all shifted across. That's amazing. So now we just need to actually build the structure which is going to be going on this thing. That's difficult. I can do the redstone stuff, the building stuff. Things are not really going well so far. This is so terrible. I don't even know what I was thinking. But I think I've come up with a fairly cool idea here in that we're going to create like a super modern Tony Stark style house on the edge of a rock. Because of course we can transport the entire rock and also the house due to the fact that this flying machine can transport enormous things. And I think we can all agree that this actually looks pretty cool already. So I thought I'd add in like a little beach, swimming pool, pond type thing out the front. Obviously we can't transport water, so I had to use ice. We've got some path blocks, and then here is the rock itself. Now 12 blocks is here. So this is our push limit. This is the maximum depth of something that we can push in Minecraft. So that means our house up at the top here is going to have to be quite slim, but I think we can do some cool stuff with it. With that being said, when it comes to pushing builds, there's always one fairly major challenge with them, and that is the fact that they have to be solid. Obviously, if they're not solid and you're pushing from one direction, then it's all going to collapse in on itself. So that means that everything needs to be fully filled. Now, our rock isn't a big deal because we can fill it up. Rocks are solid, so we can make it solid. But a house you have to actually be able to go into. And that's... It presents some interesting challenges, that's for sure. And I should say, by the way, this is not a quick process filling in this space. This place is huge. And as far as I can think, there's no real fast way for me to do it. There's no command that I can do. Even MC Edit wouldn't help in this situation. We just have to do it manually, block by block. Okay, now that all the blocks have been filled in inside that rock area, it's now time to actually start work on our modern house. And I am going super abstract and super ridiculous for this thing, just because I guess we can. I mean, this is a house that literally flies across the sky. If we can't get wild with the art style on this thing, then I don't know when we can. How are we looking so far? Is this looking like some kind of LA mansion? I actually think it kind of does look a bit like an LA mansion at this point in time. We've got some fancy staircases to take us between each level. It's super minimal. There's no furniture, which is very much like a Hollywood mansion. I would say we're doing okay. This actually looks quite cool. I'm surprised that it's able to fly. And after about an hour of tweaking, this is what we've got. Now, I have to say this is totally outside of my normal building style. This is like hyper modern, super crazy. This side is awful. We're not going to look at that side. We'll never go to that side. This is the side that matters. And I think it looks good. Now, the main limiting factor is obviously the fact that everything has to be designed with pushing in mind. So these blocks right here, if we didn't have the end rods in place, would obviously gradually move until they crashed into the stairs. So everything has to be designed from the back to the front. That's why there's no front windows, okay? I kind of like the look of the no front windows, but if there were windows, they wouldn't stay there for very long. They would just gradually move through the build until they crashed into something, and then they'd move with that. So everything kind of has to be open-fronted. But this is what we've ended up with. This is our Cliffside Tony Stark mansion. And I've got to say I'm pleased. Now all we have to do is just build up the flying machine, which is actually going to be pushing this entire build, and that'll be everything. And then it will be time to test, and if it doesn't work, I cry a lot. So, here we go. I've made about 1 million backups, alright? I don't really know what else to do. Oh, it's moving! It actually seems to work! Oh no, my stairs has collapsed! One little bit of my stairs have collapsed. Can I actually walk in here while this is happening? Let's wait for everything to move. Okay, we fixed up the stairs. Everything else seems to be surviving amazingly. So that is the only thing that I messed up on. This thing actually moves. And it looks totally ridiculous. Look at the floor goes. The floor goes. The rocks go. We have got a moving Cliffside mansion. That is so silly. That is actually really silly. I mean, look at this thing. It is quite a sight to see as it shifts along. You can watch it scanning up. It's like a... I don't even know how to describe that. That is bizarre. But awesome. So there we go. Gigantic moving structures. Another thing that's been made possible by honey blocks. I cannot wait to be able to put legs on this sort of thing. Can you imagine? That's going to be nuts. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. Am I wrong? Are honey blocks the best? I genuinely think honey blocks might be the biggest change to redstone since at least observers. I mean, it might be as big as the redstone update. This is huge. I mean, I've been meaning to make a Hermitcraft episode all week, but I can't stop playing with honey blocks. They're just so much fun. One.